Good morning to you all. My name is Patricia Watson. I'm a sister of Our Lady of Sion from Melbourne, Australia. Before I entered, I was a boarder at our school of Our Lady of Sion in Box Hill, Melbourne, Australia. I spent the last 3 years of my secondary education there, and I really loved and appreciated the environment which the sisters created for us students. We were a small school at that time, only about 128 students, and 3 things struck me about a science school. The first point was that each one of us students was really appreciated as an individual person. We were known, our families were known by the sisters, and we truly became part of the Sion family. That was a different experience for me from the 3 earlier congregations where I had been a student. The second point that struck me about Sion was the internationality of the congregation. The sisters would talk to us boarders about the schools along the Danube River, schools in Brazil, in Kansas City, and I really became quite entranced by this notion of becoming a sister. I had always wanted to be a teacher, so that was a good fit. And then the third thing that struck me very much was the spirituality of the sisters. Their spirituality was based on the scripture. We boarders, we said the Psalms for our night or morning prayers. We were taught the history of the Old Testament and the particular characters of the Old Testament, and all that really impressed me. So after a year or so, I entered the congregation. I was trained as a primary school teacher and then went on to do my university studies to become a secondary teacher and a principal of the school that was my alma mater, Our Lady of Sion, Box Hill. I was there for a number of years until I was elected as the provincial of the sisters in Australia, and subsequently, on going to a general chapter of our congregation, I was elected on the General Council. I was very homesick for the first 2 or 3 years when I was in Rome, but I soon settled down and loved the work there. I think what really interested me most was the visits that we would make all over the world to the 23 countries where our sisters were working. I really deeply appreciated the ministries they were involved in Jewish-Christian relations, in teaching, and especially in the promotion of women, women who were poor, who lacked a sense of their own dignity and human worth. So I found that work really, truly inspiring. After I had finished my time in Rome, I went to Jerusalem and I coordinated the programs in the Ein Karim community, which is just outside of Jerusalem. And I loved that work there also, meeting Jews and Muslims and accepting each one just as they were, as a human person, as a child of God. After 3 years in Jerusalem, I felt it was time for me to come back to my own home country. I've been involved in different ministries there in Australia, and particularly in the last few years I have been writing history of the congregation, because I think the Sion charism has just so much to say to our world today, and in writing down the vision that we sisters have lived over many years, I believe it's an important way of passing on the gift of science charism in the church and for the world to the many lay people who are following in our footsteps and are so interested in becoming part of the wonderful family of science.